Thank you for coming to Nancy's Nest. Nancy's Nest. So, you've spent your life committed to justice for the most oppressed. Why the most oppressed? And why not start with the middle class?
Well, to be honest, when I look at the middle class, I don't feel worried about them, you know what I mean? They don't seem to have a huge number of, social issues, health. I mean, there probably are health issues, but, they seem to have enough to eat, somewhere to live, often good educations and so on and so on. So I don't think they need my help. But most oppressed people need lots of help in lots of different ways. And most of all, I think, from where I was situated, where for a long time the most important thing for me was getting a needle and a load of heroin. It became really obvious to me very quickly that, however the world saw it, that we were being crazy and insane or rebellious or whatever, the vast majority of us had come from quite, difficult backgrounds. This was a response to, oppression. So yeah, I mean, that's the sort of sum total answer. But through that world, I really became very... I mean, when I realised that people with HIV were being targeted and discriminated against and all the rest of it, I got very angry indeed, because all I could see was that sick people were being targeted. I didn't really, to be honest, at the very beginning, I didn't really think... The politics weren't that obvious to me, yeah? But the idea that a group of sick people were being targeted really made me very angry, very angry, like insanely angry. I wanted to smack people in the mouth and just tell them to wake up and stop being... because I heard very quickly about John's story, for example. John was a classic, he went to China, he thought he was going to die, he had this little pot of money.
He went to China to get meds.
He went, because it was 1986, so he went to China because he thought he was going to die and he wanted to walk on the Great Wall of China.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, John Mordaunt. So what happened, he was literally walking on the Great Wall of China and he fell. He just about knew his diagnosis at that point. Anyway, he fell. And, so much for junkies being dishonest and all the rest of it that people say. He fell, and because, it was a big drama and there was blood spilt and all the rest of it, he told the paramedics, the worst thing he could have done for his own sake, that they should be careful he had HIV. And the next thing he knew, he was locked up.
In China?
In China.
Oh.
And in fact, I didn't know this. I read it years, in fact, not so long ago, that the detail of this was that they took him to the hospital and he got, let out quite quickly. He couldn't wait to get out. But then the next day, he and, his, it was some kind of package tour, and people were paired up. His doctor friend and he were at the Peking Opera. And some officials rocked up in the middle of this opera and hooshed him out.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, it was like, you should not be here, you're HIV positive, you should be there. And they couldn't get blood. And he was like, why do you need my blood? I've told you, what's going on. When you've injected for a long time, your veins are extremely damaged. Anyway, they couldn't get blood, and they got very impatient and basically scalpelled him to get the blood out. Yeah. So, and he got back to England, and they put him on a plane on his own. And like a cat flap, they put his food in a cat flap so he could eat. I mean, it was really bad.
Oh.
It was really bad. And so he got back to England. He got some support from the ambassador of Ireland, in England, basically. But basically, he tried to kill himself pretty quickly after that. And I don't know how he was saved, because I don't know that one detail. But frontliners, People with AIDS Coalition then, what actually happened was the nurses at the hospital were so desperate, because they just didn't know what to do with this guy. He was an addict, he was HIV, he was absolutely he was absolutely suicidal and beside himself because of what had happened. And the nurses just panicked, but they knew about frontliners. So they phoned frontliners and said, look, can you please help us with this guy? We just think that he needs peers. He needs to know that he's not alone,
Who was Frontliners and tell us about the John Morden Trust.
Yeah, so Frontliners was the People with AIDS Coalition of that period in time. So I think they were formed around 87 and they went on for nearly, well, how long would it have been? About a decade, yeah. John's Trust didn't happen until after he died, actually, around the same time after Frontliners. But, yeah, so, I mean, Frontliners was amazing. You know Michelle, by the way, she can tell you a bit about that as well.
Dunwell.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, Michelle Ross Turner.
Oh, yeah.
Lieutenant Q.
Yeah.
She was around, because she was a volunteer for THT at the time that Frontliners were given, basically the top room at Terence Higgins Trust was theirs. I'll tell you what I remember about Frontliners the most, actually, is like, because I was at school and I wanted to organise an AIDS policy for the university I was at. Anyway, I went down to Terence Higgins. I went down to THD and Michelle was on the reception and she said, oh, go upstairs to Frontliners, they'll sort you out. There are people there, so they can help you with your policy making, blah, blah, blah. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to organise a policy for the institution I was studying at. And I go up the stairs and there's this, as you get to the door, there's this large sign that said, we are people with AIDS. We are not victims or, what was the other thing? Criminals or something like that. We are just people with AIDS. And it felt like, oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. hold that.
Well, you know what I mean? It was like, you know, we're empowered people with AIDS or something like that. And I thought, oh my God, okay, Andrew. You know, like, we're empowered, so don't fuck with us kind of thing. That's what I got. Right? Yeah. But not, like, I wasn't, you know, seriously scared. But, you know, it's quite a powerful message. Yeah. You know what I mean? You haven't even walked through the door.
Yeah.
And then once I was inside the door, you know, somebody, Jim Wilson, who was an absolute figurehead at the time of people with AIDS in this country, within about 10 minutes, like, do you know your status? And I went, no. You know what I mean? Because the context was completely understandable. It's like 1 million people all living with HIV and advanced HIV. I mean, you know, those were the days when they didn't have medicine. Most people were quite ill, and visibly so. You know? And I was a bit shocked, you know. You know, I just hadn't ever been in a space where people would be so forward, you know.
Yeah.
So he goes, oh, sorry. It's all right. I guess I'm just a bit surprised, that's all. And no, I don't know at the moment. Anyway, so, you know, and they set it up. I mean, they literally set John and me up. Because, you know, John was there by then. So this is a few months down the road. People from Frontliners have kind of basically come along and spiritually and emotionally saved his life. Is another way to describe it. And, yeah, as soon as they got wind of the fact that I was also, you know, an ex-injection drug user, they basically were like, we got to put these two people together. You know, they were really, not forceful, but on it, like rapidly on it. And it was quite sweet, actually. It was very sweet. But yeah, so John's Trust didn't happen till just after he died, because that was the point, really. You know, because really, in John's life, there had been very few people who were so out there around the drugs issue. You know, I mean, John was basically saying, we have a right to use drugs, and you need to stop punishing us for doing something that people have been doing for millennia, and will carry on doing for millennia. Because one of the things that is happening as a result of this punishment is HIV. Is that people can't even get access to a clean needle. This is bloody serious. It's like, get a grip. So, you know, it's a powerful message, really. Or should I say in the context, because most people hadn't thought of it, right? Anyway, so after he did this incredible work, you know, I thought, wow, I should, you know, make a space where other people can do similar work. And so that's what John's Trust was about.
So the mission, because I'm going to obviously put this in the book and get people to support it. The mission statement, or the aim of the John Morden Trust is to support...
Well, to address the health and human rights issues of drug users.
Amazing.
I mean, that is the summary of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an important question, actually, Dan, because when we first put it together, we were told by lawyers, you know, you have to be careful about the wording of this, because obviously this is quite political.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can talk about drugs and drug treatment and policy without it being political, especially in the context of HIV. but you need to be careful. And I took that to our board actually, and they said, well, actually, you can say almost anything as long as you don't, mention the Tory party, because you know what I mean.
Yeah,
as long as it's not party political,
Yeah.
you can be political, but you just can't. You need to be careful. Anyway, so what they were basically advising is we put it out there into the world as a kind of support group, which it was anyway. So that wasn't a problem. But yeah, that was our remit. To advocate for the health and human rights of drug users. And previous to that, a lot of like drug user organisations were really just, treatment, counselling, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that said, I had to be well careful about people's... I mean, because I would be rocking up to recovery meetings and people were in really bad shape, but they were interested in what I was doing, because it was important for them. And then people would start being volunteers before they had the physical or any kind of capacity, because their lives were so, they were ill, basically. Not just from drugs, either.
This is brilliant, Andrea. Thank you so much for sharing. Next question. Just conscious because I've got to stop it.